Make me proud, don't never back up, don't never back down. Stand your ground and always tell it like it is. Yeah, this life's gonna be real damn tough. You take them scars and you call that bluff. Don't let me catch you fitting in, 'cause everyone's an outlaw until it's time to do outlaw shit.
Welcome to Outlaw Entrepreneur Podcast, where doing business at the edge is the status quo and average is out of business. Here's your host, Steve Hauk.
Good morning and welcome to the Outlaw Entrepreneur, an hour earlier than our scheduled time because, of course, father of 8 kids has a family commitment that I can't miss this morning. And I so appreciate Mr. Giagnocavo willing to move his schedule up an hour for me. So, Jeff, welcome to the show, sir.
Yeah, happy to be here.
So, what is the quickest bio you could do on yourself, Jeff? And I know you got a long list of businesses and
yeah. Well, it's not a quick bio because of all the things I am involved with and that I do. But I like to say I try to move into that investor seat in any business that I'm involved in pretty quick. So the simplest bio would be go to thejeffg.com as we talk. Today, you're going to see and hear a lot of things that I do. And that site's like choose your own adventure novel, right? Like back in middle school, if you want the guys to go into the cave, flip to page 57. So that site is my contact site. You can see everything I'm doing. But yeah, I'm an entrepreneur, sit in the investor seat of a couple different businesses that I own. And that's a mantra that I like to use because I think that's the dream of every business owner to make investor-like decisions and have their day be run where all they do is set themselves up to make good decisions. That should be the focus of your day, not like as an example right here. I got a little tweak to a workflow with some VAs that I have, and I almost got sucked into it. And I'm like, nope, I got to put that back on them. And so I don't do like that one's about blog posts. I don't do that stuff. I look at the blog posts and make sure the content is right, and then the tactical stuff gets pushed out. So that shift into the investor seat's important, and maybe we can dig into that. But yeah, I do a lot of things: mattresses, clothing, apparel, consulting, some software, podcasting.
I know our paths have crossed many times, and I can thank you for introducing me to my good friend Pete.
Mm-hmm.
And talking Pete into joining our Facebook group after many efforts because he was afraid that he was joining the wrong group with some ass clown.
Right. Yeah. Definitely not your many things, but ass clown is not one of them.
We do our best not to be ass clowns.
Right.
I mean, sometimes I guess, I guess it's in the eye of the beholder, right?
Right.
So
right.
I don't know if you've tuned into my couple previous podcasts, but we are about diving into history, Jeff. So right. I need to dive into Jeff's history because you are the founder of Signer 57,
mm-hmm.
which is unique because you are Canadian by birth.
I am. But if I don't want to mess up what we got going here, but right there is the oath of allegiance that I took in September of 2019. And right there is my welcome to a citizen letter signed by the president at the time, President Trump.
Hey, that might be worth something. I mean, I'd burn that shit if it was signed by the current one, but I mean,
my opinion,
Jeff, I know you've been here for decades and decades, but
31 years, 32 years actually.
So tell me the journey from Canada to the US. What brought your family to the US?
So NAFTA. NAFTA is what brought us here.
Free trade.
Well, actually, it really would have screwed up my father's business to remain in Canada, and so we came here because it was just a better setup, I guess. So I'm immediately like, regulation is emotional pain for me as a kid because it uprooted our family. So like that's where it goes for me. Like big government, more regulation is bad, and we know it's bad. But for me, it's like it frames my childhood, ripping me away from friends, family, and then moving here to Pennsylvania 32 years ago. This May, actually, coming up.
How old were you 32 years ago, Jeff? Let's date you.
I'm 43 now, so I was 11 when we moved here. No, I was 10, so it's 33 years. 1990. Yeah. So
that's good. I got a few more years. You got a little bit more gray in your hair than me.
Yeah. Yep.
Depends on the angle you can see. I mean,
It comes out.
The light hits me just right. I got quite a bit of gray too. But
yeah.
So NAFTA brings you. What kind of business was your dad in?
Trucking.
So truckers in Canada, I mean, they took a stand against the government a couple years ago. So, I mean, interesting that trucking would bring you guys to the U.S.
Yep.
Was he owner operator or?
Yeah. Yep. So we moved here and, started my first business was, we lived in a development that was built in 3 phases, and I started cutting grass because I wanted to go on a church retreat to Colorado that my parents couldn't afford. It was like $1,500 for airfare in the week and all that stuff. So I started cutting grass at 14 to pay for that, and kept that going to get my first car, and then sold that business off in phases. I sold phase 1, 2, and 3 of the development to friends, and I made a little bit of money as they kept working, and then that was that. And that money bought my first car, a 1981 Camaro, which I have a picture of around here somewhere. I just moved my office, so I'm still kind of setting things up.
Did you structure it as an earnout, Jeff?
I structured it stupidly, is what I did. But I guess it wasn't all that dumb, because actually, do I have? I've got a picture right here. This is where I put it. There it is. There was the first, like, you always remember your first car, right? There's the first car.
This is my least favorite body style of Camaro, but
I know, but you know what? It was the car I could afford. It ran well.
It's pretty.
Served me well.
My
had a $299 Mako paint job.
My first car was a 1993 Mitsubishi Mirage. So you win.
Yeah, you have no basis to say anything bad about my first car.
My car had no testicles.
Right.
Well, I did have that car up to 140 miles an hour once. So, I mean,
mine didn't go that far.
It did not have, also got 50 miles a gallon, which, when gas was 90 cents, wasn't as big of an issue as it is today. But but either way, when it comes to like testicular fortitude, your car wins.
Yes. Yeah.
So
that car was bought.
Girl car.
Yeah, I sold the 3 phases for $500 a phase, and that car was $1,500. So I sold it and was able to buy the car. And then what I should have done was a bigger number up front, because the earn out that I had structured, I didn't really get paid on. I was chasing money, and then I just gave up. And I think one of the dads went to my dad and was like, your son's just really aggressive here, and it's a little too much. So that was that. It was a bad deal, but I got the car. And, at 16 years old, when you got a car you've paid for on your own, and you've got freedom that car affords, you're thinking you got life pretty much. You're in charge at that point, right?
16, wild and free.
Mhm.
That was the age of uh, lots of trouble for me. So yes,
Yep.
that was the start of the downward spiral to college for me. So, but we got into business the exact same way. I started at 11 years old. I started mowing lawns. I made
Mhm.
more mowing lawns than I did doing any other job, all the way through high school. It was pretty.
Yep.
I mean, I quickly moved on. My mom managed restaurants, so I moved on to dishwasher and busboy and punching the clock. But um, yeah, the good old mowing lawns, great way to start a business. That's my son's first business, my
Yep.
oldest son's first business. So we push that lawn mowing hard work ethic. Also, you get to learn to manage your time, manage your money, manage your
Yep.
resources. So, um, great foray into business. After
Yep.
high school, where'd you go, Jeff?
So after high school, I got into construction. Really, I only spent about 2.5 years of my adult life on a W-2, and from there, I ripped my body up, tore my knee up, and that was the start of my knee issues, which gets rectified this coming Monday. But the construction days were all right. It's what it was. I hung off of cranes and fixed roofs, did sheet metal work, which was cool. Working with your hands, I always enjoy. But once I wasn't able to do that, I started selling things, selling building products. And I actually had a pretty quick rise, but got chewed up in the corporate world and didn't like that corporate world at all. And then left that and little 1 inch by 1 inch ad sales/service team, national accounts, call this number. That's what I did. That brought me into the furniture and bedding industry. And for the first 12 years of my career in the furniture and mattress industry, I was on the wholesale factory sourcing side, selling large accounts. And that was fun. And I missed a lot of stuff with the family. So I decided to bring it home and partner with one of my customers. And the rest is history. And here I am today.
As a as an independent rep, I mean, I've heard some unique stories of your road time.
Mhm.
What was the coolest thing you did to bring in business? I mean, you really are about doing business different, right? I mean, and
Oh, yeah.
you have been before your days as a sole business owner, but as a rep, you did business different. How
Yep.
do you stand out in the crowd, Jeff?
So one of the things I did, this isn't the story, but it sets up the story. So I bought, so the first thing I did as an independent rep, once the national account days ended, and that ended in a fantastic bang, which we could get into if you want. I was a territory guy, regional guy, Eastern Pennsylvania, Maryland, Delaware. Convinced my wife, we're going to get rid of your nice Honda Civic. You're going to drive my road car at the time, which was a Hyundai Elantra GT hatchback, speed stick shift, because it was just better on gas. And I'm going to go buy a Ford Expedition so I can shove some twin mattress samples in the back so I can go take the road show to the customers. Graduated that to a trailer, but fuel was just insanely expensive. I was spending $1,200-1,500 a month in gas. And then I bought a Sprinter van, and one of those like delivery Dodge Sprinter van things. And that was
This is
cool because it was
before it
all
was
contained.
cool, right?
Hmm?
You bought the Sprinter van before it was cool. I mean, now everybody wants a Sprinter van.
Yeah. I was like, nobody understood what this guy was doing in this big white van. Like
Not a tail abductor.
I got pulled over twice in Baltimore, once in Philly, in some rough parts of town because I had accounts in some rougher parts of those towns, and the cops were like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "Oh, I've got a dealer up the street." And I'm like, "A dealer? What do you mean a dealer?" Like, I sell mattresses. They're right in the back. I'm like, "Well, you really shouldn't be in this part of town." I'm like, "Well, Chuck sells my stuff, man. He's a good guy. I got to go see him." And So that happened a couple times. But the coolest story, so that Sprinter van kind of sets up the coolest story. So the account that I sold, their thing was, we're going to sell everybody, and we got ways to manage those relationships. And those were my marching orders. And so I went and did that. And I would tell dealers, look, you're going to, in a town where there's multiple options to sell product, you're going to either sell this product or you're going to sell against it. And there was one guy in one town that I really wanted to get. So I just wasn't able to get a call. I wasn't able to get a return call or an appointment. But I kind of staked out the routine of when he would show up. And I went and laid out all the beds in this competitor's parking lot, like I was doing a little road show right there. And I got a phone call like a half hour into that charade. What are you doing down there with those beds? Like, I told you, you're either going to sell them or you're going to sell against them. I can't believe you do business with that guy. I said, well, I'm trying to do business with you. He's like, well, come on over. All right, I'll come on over. Let me pack up. Don't you write an order, he says. I don't know. I have to take the orders. So ended up becoming one of my best accounts.
Road show in the parking lot.
I brought the show right to you. Well, that was the thing. I mean, that company didn't show at the major shows. They only showed at the more tertiary shows. And I just knew if I could get the product in front of people, it was a fit, and so I wouldn't take no for an answer. I just shifted the terms, right? Which has been my whole life. And like, fine, I'll make that money back easy. Cause I've been doing it. I did a crawl, walk, run approach to that, right? Bought the SUV, which wasn't a harm. We had a growing family, if it wouldn't have worked, it was a very safe plan, but it worked. And then when I saw it worked and I needed to show more, I bought the trailer. But then the expenses of the fuel, and I was 37 feet bumper to bumper. And when you're serving the Northeast, that's rough. That's rough going when you're on the beltways, the turnpike. I mean, it's like some dealers, I took up their whole parking lot. They hated it, so I have to see them before or after hours.
When I first got into this business, I took the same way. First, I was delivering with my pickup. Then I bought a trailer. And then I realized the trailer was such a pain in the ass in apartment complexes. It'd take you 3-4 times as long to deliver because you got to back in and out of these places constantly. There's no way to turn around a truck and trailer. And finally, I went and bought my first box truck, for $2,000 off Craigslist. Mm-hmm. And that hunk of junk is still sitting at the end of my parking lot. And,
it's a billboard.
It's only broke down once. I mean, that thing is 1994 GMC Cutaway. That thing is, it starts up when none of my other trucks will start. That thing does. It's still, everything in it's metal except for the damn door handles. They're like this zinc concoction that the damn door handles on the inside break off all the time. It pisses me off. But I order them 2-3 at a time and just count on them breaking. Sure.
So the Sprinter van was cool. And then I rode that straight through the end of that time. And really just dominated the market. I was unstoppable. That van saved a major presentation with a big chain. Cause I had the samples that the sales manager forgot to order in the van. And, I was able to earn my way into that account that way. And, it was really good.
So then you make the transition to store owner.
Mm-hmm.
What's the hardest part about that transition? What's different?
The hardest part about that was working with a business partner, because I really hadn't had that intimate where it was a daily thing. I had partners before, but we were very much on our own, doing our own thing, maintaining our own schedules. We weren't in an office together. We weren't in the same 4 walls together. So it was like a whole new relationship. And And I'll readily admit I was the asshole. I was the problem. But that fixed. Worked on it, and worked on it, and worked on it, and worked on it some more.
Did you
But
guys ever
that was the hardest
go to
part.
couples counseling?
Not quite, but we worked on it. We worked on it.
I've been extremely fortunate in my, and I say this fortunate, unfortunate, fortunate that I am reliant on myself so much. But I could never take on a business partner. I mean, I do have a business partner in one of my smaller businesses that, doesn't make any money, so it's different. But yeah, I can't imagine having to make decisions with anybody other than my wife.
Yep.
It's tough enough to compromise with her, let alone compromise with another man.
Yeah. For me, it's a belief that I can go farther faster with the right people around me. And, the retail store was always about, at the onset, it was about expanding my knowledge base and leveraging my knowledge base and skills. And I was the quiet guy. For 2 years, I ran that, and very few people knew. So it became untenable in wholesale when in 2012, I shipped more product than I ever had. I'm sorry, in 2011, I shipped more, because 2012, I wrapped it up. But 2011, I shipped more product than I ever had, wholesale shipping volume. But I made more money 4 years prior, calendar year 2007.
Just commission cuts, or?
Yes. Yeah. And it always, I've got one rule in life. I will never ask for the money that I'm owed. If I went out and earned it, the expectation is it shows up as agreed upon. I had a sales manager one time. I was put my hat in the ring for a line, and they said to me, so what would end our relationship? What would make it go bad? I said, it's real simple. You don't pay me. And she says, so it's all about money. I said, it's only about money. It's the only reason I'm doing this. She says, well, that doesn't really blend with our culture. I said, I don't work for your company. I'm an agent. I said, you don't extend your culture to the factories overseas, do you? You don't extend your culture to your shipping companies that ship your product. You don't extend your culture to the trucking companies that deliver your product. Well, no. I said, okay, so I'm an agent. This is very simple. I like your company. I like your product. None of my retailers have recommended me for this job. I've taken your personality assessment. I've passed every hurdle. You asked me a pointed question. If I go sell your stuff and I go sell it at your price list, and my check doesn't show up the next month as agreed upon, I'm done. It's very simple. She's like, well, that's very blunt. I said, no, it's very honest. It's very simple. It's a very simple prospect, right? I sell your product at your price, and I get it. And for me, it was such a direct conflict. I withdrew consideration, essentially. I'm like, I don't want to be a part of this.
So, man, I'm kind of interested in what company are they still around, Jeff?
No, they were out of business 6 months later. They went bankrupt.
Blessings always happen that way, right? I mean, it's
yeah. So I mean, for me, it was one of those things like when I'm working as hard or harder, shipping more but making less, I had to see the writing on the wall. And for me in that career, I made really good money, but I made good money with accounts that today many companies just don't pay any attention to. Your independents, your regionals. And for me, I saw that writing on the wall, and it's like, all right, I got to make a choice here, because I'm going to spend the next 5 years attempting to build a career with major accounts, and maybe I make it go, but at the end of the day, the likelihood of being cut out, of being, always having a negotiation for what I've gone to earn. And I say earn, I really try, like if I could share one thing in this part of the conversation right now with everybody, would be take the word deserve out of your mind, because that's an entitlement language word. It's an entitlement action and belief, and replace it with earned. I went and earned that. So if I went and earned the money, I expect it. And I just didn't think spending the next 5 years earning that spot at the table would pay off for the next 5. In case in point, a dear friend of mine was just fired the beginning of this year after 25 years with a company, and they just fired their entire rep force, and that's a shame, because the only thing that made that company run was their rep force.
Going back to the earning the seat at the table, right? I mean, I see so many reps today, so many people on the wholesale side really focused on those big accounts, like it's the instant jackpot. But the interesting thing is how quick those big accounts will ship you down the river if they find the next best deal, right? I mean, it's like those things, there's zero loyalty or consideration. I mean, like you said, it's about the money. And when they come to the table, it's literally about the money, because the people making the decisions are people with MBAs that are doing, cost analysis on everything all the time.
Right.
That might not be who you're negotiating with, but that's the guy that signs the check, right? I mean, is the guy that's doing the cost analysis. So it's a crazy way to think about it. I'm with you. This is the reason why Outlaw Entrepreneur exists, the reason why my business exists. Our Facebook groups is all about independent retail. That's we're here for the little guy. And
well, I have a belief. I mean, I think the little guy can grow up. I think the little guy can grow big. I think the little guy can do things that really serve them well. I believe, for me, growing up, Main Street was a special part of my childhood. I went uptown. My grandmother would send me uptown to go pick up something for my grandfather at the hardware store. He was a master cabinet maker and woodworker. So I'd run uptown to grab something. I'd grab the meat order from the butcher shop. I mean, like their town in Canada was like Mayberry, legitimately, right? And what I didn't know at the time is she would call ahead and say, hey, Jeff's coming up to do this, then he's going to go here and he's going to go here. So if you don't see him in a half hour, give me a call. And that was the kind of idyllic, connective community that existed. Now, I don't live in some fantasy world to think that things like that exist today in every town. But I believe that Main Street has an importance in its community. And if we forget that, then we got a real problem.
So I mean, I've had a couple different guests on, some about aggressive expansion, and then I was, when I was in Las Vegas, and I was talking to somebody, and they said, well, either you plan to grow big or you plan to stay small, right? And I mean, I like to think of myself as somewhere in the middle, but I really do enjoy that small aspect of business, like you said. I mean, the part of business that allows me to be my kids' football coach, sponsor my kids' football teams, baseball teams, really dig in and contribute to the community, partner with the school districts to help kids that are in need of, whatever. I mean, we just donated a bunch of mattresses to get kids off the floor.
Yep.
Like big business has a hard time making that decision and that connection, right? I mean, those things you have to get approval from higher ups. Here, you just walk,
I mean, listen.
Here, you just walk in and ask, and if I'm here, and I mean, there's a good chance. I mean, don't come begging for. I'm not all about charity. I believe people have to earn it too. But
Mm-hmm.
you know, the soft spot in my heart is especially kids and homeless kids. So
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I'm the same way. We, in our business, we have an ongoing thing with a charity called Off the Streets. The local United Way chapter vets the families that need to get out of homelessness, and then Off the Streets picks that up and carries forward the finding the housing and getting the parents set up with jobs, and really secures permanent, a permanent success path for them. So we donate to them all the time.
you know,
We
another
had
guy, just I want to name drop here because the guy that really stands out in what he's been able to do, even on a national level and not been big, is Mr. Mattress Mac.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the impact that he has made for the city of Houston is,
Yep.
I mean, it's not for a lack of money. That guy, I mean, anybody that's dropping 2 million on a bet, especially you're betting on the Cowboys.
Steve, we're about to turn the podcast out if we want to, but I don't want to go there because Eagles fans get accused of enough things. So I'm just going to say,
Well, you guys are the
I'm
most
an Eagles fan.
You guys are the most brutal fans, and nobody likes Eagles fans. So
Yeah, it's all right.
I know that's my in-laws. My in-laws are Eagles fans, and I won't tell you who I'm rooting for in the Super Bowl.
Hey, all I know is the entirety. Well, not the entirety, because that's. I will say this: there are some fans that are going to have to do a whole bunch of mental gymnastics on Sunday night if the Eagles win it all. They're either going to have to admit they finally played a good team in Kansas City, or they're going to have to admit all the other teams suck. One or the other is going to have to be admitted. And I don't care what you do because we'll still have a chance.
I really have enjoyed the Eagles' dominance, right? I mean, it's kind of the Jalen Hurts middle finger to the world.
I don't. We have been a dominant team in the win-loss column, but I will tell you, every single game as a fan has been a nail biter for me, with the exception of like the Giants mid-season. The Colts game, we almost dropped to the Colts. It took 58 and a half minutes to win that game. And then it was still a one-score game where if they got a touchdown and could kick the extra point, the Colts would have won.
In the NFL, everybody's good, right? I mean,
well, that's just it. It is that cliche at any given Sunday that exists, and that's that. And I know this isn't a football show, so maybe people don't want to hear about it. But look, at the end of the day,
I'm a diehard Bills fan, and I can tell you, any given Sunday, I don't know how the Cincinnati Bengals kicked Buffalo's ass so bad, but I know when I see a team show up and play without heart, right?
Yep.
I mean, you've coached youth sports. I coach youth sports. We've all had those days where the kids just show up, and you're like, "This is not my team, right? This is not the team that I'm used to being around."
Yep.
They're flat. That was the Buffalo Bills in that Cincinnati game. You're just like, where's the heart?
Yep.
So,
well, I on that note, I was just part of a book, compilation book, where I took some of the lessons that I shared with the kids that I coached in football about, at that age and through your teenage years, everybody around you, excepting your parents, and the fact of the matter is some kids don't have the quality of parental love that they should have, right? But my message to the kids was, look, you kids are practice warriors. If we could measure practice and wins, losses, we're undefeated. And every year we were an undefeated team. But what we showed up on the field was very different. And we had some seasons, it was a struggle, 2-6, 4-3, those kinds of seasons, right? And, at that point, the parents get on you. And I would just say, I want you to be here for a week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night, and you tell me if you think what's showing up on the field is different. and what we're as a coaching staff supposed to do differently. Because if we can get them out of it in practice, I'm not sure we can't be there on the field. I can't run the ball on the field with the kids. I can't throw them the pass. I can't catch their pass. I can't block for them. They got to do that for one another. And they're doing that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but Saturday, Sunday, it just isn't coming together. And my point in this is I shared with the kids, and I think this is appropriate for adults. You have to be more interested in your success than everyone else around you. And, you know, as a child, as a teenager, you know, the people around you throughout most of your day, they're compelled. They get paid to care for you. They're your teachers, right? And a lot of teachers genuinely do care. But at the end of the day, if you're not interested in your own success, their interest in your success wanes. It just does.
So I gave my kids this last season coaching, and some of the parents didn't like this speech, but essentially I wrapped it up saying this way: I cannot want to win more than you want to win. Right. Because the reality is I don't get to participate. I get to do as much as I can from the sideline, but like you said, I don't get to throw the ball. I don't get to catch the ball. I don't get a block. I don't get a hit. If I did, at 40 years old, I'd run through every 10-year-old out there. Right? Like, I don't think there's a 10-year-old that could hold a candlestick to a 40-year-old man angry running at him.
Yep.
But the difference is I don't want to be tackled, right? Like, I mean, that's the most important, I think, lesson in business. I always, you know, people always say, hey, you know, this just to reiterate the fact that I hate failure, right? I mean, that the example that it's okay to fail today, we're encouraging failure today. Like, I've never failed because I've never quit, right? Like, failure is not an option. And I mean, even like, well, they say, well, you've failed at certain things. Oh, I failed at a million things. But the end goal, I've never failed at. And I never look at the lessons along the way as the mission, right? It's the mission is the end. Do I make money? Am I profitable? Like, that's the part that I care about, because that's the part that gets my employees paid.
Right.
I think you and I could talk forever, and I really want to get into entrepreneurship, the Patriot way, because what really kind of inspired me during COVID was watching some of your YouTube videos and Facebook videos in the Walmart parking lot, of all things, because the government chose sides.
Oh yeah, right? They picked winners and losers. Yep.
And I mean, and the government picks sides all the time, right? With regulation. And I mean, not to say like, I mean, that's probably the biggest thing that the government does is when they regulate business, when people give in to, I mean, not that we don't care about the environment and such, but I mean, literally these lobbyists for some big corporations, their goal is to institute regulation so that they don't get competition. Right. I mean, and that's, I mean, it came to full fruition when we saw what was going on during COVID, when Home Depot was nuts to butts, but you and I couldn't open our stores.
Yep. Yeah, it was, that whole time was just ridiculous. And I'm not saying ridiculous in that I didn't think COVID was a thing. I'm saying it was ridiculous in the hypocrisy of how it was responded to. So, like I had people say, Jeff, you got to just, I need to go get groceries, so I can't go to Target. Is that what you're saying? Like, no, what I'm saying is Target on Black Friday has every opportunity and ability to segregate their store to direct you to go buy a 50-inch TV and away from everything else that they want to. They could very easily have closed down every wing of their store that wasn't a necessity. They could program their cash registers to not ring up what isn't necessity. I mean, if we're all into this together, you know, I'm not going to cuss on your show. I
You
could
can.
if I wanted to.
It's okay.
But,
I will.
you know, the whole thing, if we're all in this together, bullshit. Okay? If the corporate overlords really believe that, yeah, anybody with that BS Facebook filter believed that, they would have demanded these big chains shut off the ability to do commerce on anything that wasn't a necessity. But instead, as you saw, everybody immediately went to their lawn and garden. They immediately went to painting their house. And you know, the people who weren't deemed, in Pennsylvania, was really overbearing. I mean, there was a list. You were essential or non-essential, and it was arbitrary. And there was no rhyme or reason to it. And it was really sad. Pennsylvania was so bad that I know for a fact that the government pulled a favor for the insurance commission against anybody that had loss of business revenue insurance, because we had it. We should have been paid out. We weren't. The exclusion was a viral outbreak in your four walls. That was the exclusion. Well, no one in Pennsylvania Department of Health could show anybody that COVID was in my four walls ever. And yet we got excluded. Our policy denied. And the reason that policy was denied and all the other policies were denied in Pennsylvania and nationwide is because the entirety of the insurance industry, not just companies that wrote loss of business revenue policies, the entirety of the insurance industry for your most basic car, home, auto, life, didn't have enough money to pay out. Their cash reserves weren't there. That's why they didn't pay out. And every state,
if they would have paid one, they would have had to pay everyone.
Exactly. And it was a known thing, and every single state pushed the button, put their finger on the scale for their insurance commission, because who's involved at that level? Your big insurance companies. Who are those people? They're your big donors, and that's just the way it went. And really, that's what prompted me to start what I did with Signer 57, because we have, like you commented about the Welcome to America thing with, I'm pointing to that Donald Trump signed. I don't care. I don't care who's president. I don't care who's in Congress. I think they are all awful. I want them all gone. Every one of them I want out. There is not
I definitely want your
one.
Pennsylvania senator gone.
Yeah, 100%. I want them all gone.
I'm just trying to figure out what WTF.
I want them all
WTF,
gone.
Pennsylvania, the home of Ben Franklin. WTF.
I want them all gone. Civil service is meant to be service. And my belief is, here's my belief of how we fix government. Congressional representation, representation in the Congress, senator, congressman, or woman becomes just reading some comments here. I don't know what. Anyway. Civil service should be just that. And to me, the way you fix it is we enact a lottery, and lottery for citizens to represent the nation. And you can accept that nomination or you can deny it and say, I can't do it. And we pull everybody in, and we get away from the whole two-party system. And I think there's a big way to fix that, in my opinion. I think there's a big opportunity to fix it, but we can't fix it with supposed better Republicans or better Democrats. They're all the same people. They're all the same team. They just wear different color uniforms. Simple as that.
I mean, we're in 100% agreement that they are all the same colored shirts, right? They are on the same team versus the people. I'm reading some of these comments. Just this, I don't know who Larry is, but
Yeah, I don't know who Larry is either.
I don't like your comments, Larry. How about that? But,
yeah, my truck I bought.
I mean,
my truck I bought in 2019. My delivery truck in 2018. So I don't know. I don't know what Larry's talking about. But anyway.
And I paid cash for my truck, so welcome to
Yeah.
me. It's called saving money.
Yeah. Yep. But all of that frustration really kind of led me, there was some extra time in those years. I kind of really, went back to like Federalist Papers. I went back to, studying some of the original signers. And I'm like, these guys really stood out front. They really stood in a gap at the time. They were original rule breakers. And, they really stood for something. And I developed Signer 57 to kind of really have a more elevated conversation. I didn't want it to just be a flag or a gun shirt, because there's tons of that. And quite honestly, you don't bring anybody into conversation around that.
I'm a huge fan of 9-line, right? And that's my background, being military.
Yep. Big company, great messages, well established, big competitor. Yep.
I mean, you play in the similar field, but different messaging, right?
Well, right. The core tenets of marketing are finding the right message in the right media to the right market. And, the gun and flag t-shirt message is out there, and it's cool. And I've got all that stuff. I have all my competitor stuff. I've had grunt style, 9-line, old school Patriot, even Lions Not Sheep is kind of in that vein of things. And, it just comes down to the fact that, I just wanted a different message. I wanted an elevated conversation. I wanted education to be a part of it. I wanted to inspire people to think about what makes our constitutional republic really great. That's what I kind of wanted. So that's what the brand's about, and it's what I believe in and what we built.
No, and I mean, in unique message, I just want to hit real quick. We'll play part of this video here.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter, to abolish, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Hi, my name is Giagnocavo, and I am the founder of Signer 57. Almost 250 years ago, 56 brave men came together and risked it all to create what is now known as the Declaration of Independence. The Declaration of Independence states three basic ideas. One, God made all men equal and gave them the rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Two, the main business of government is to protect these rights. And three, if a government tries to withhold these rights, the people are free to revolt and set up a new government. All 56 signers of that declaration took a significant risk.
Am I supposed to be hearing the audio from the video?
If the colonies had lost the war, then the British might have used those signatures as evidence of treason. These 56 brave men didn't let the fear of that possibility stop them. They did what had to be done in the name of freedom. Here we are almost 250 years later, and we have a government that is taking away our rights at an alarming rate, labeling patriots as the...
Oh man, my mouse. Love that video. I love that,
Steve,
the reality of,
I couldn't hear anything or see anything.
you might not have been able to, but I did.
Okay.
It was I'm not sure how it works for you unless you were
Okay.
looking at the screen. So
All right. Very good.
if it wasn't playing, we have a very awkward 2 minutes of silence there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, this guy, Larry, I'm starting to
Yeah, I'm
wonder.
not sure.
I'm starting to wonder if his mom dropped him on his head when he was a child.
It might be the case. I'm just
I-
not sure, man.
The joys of this world, Jeff, are you have haters, right?
Mhm.
I have haters, and really the joy of being me is I can just say fuck you. I mean, the reality is, we're here to do good for our families, for our country, but for our communities. I mean, our impact is small sometimes. When we look at our impact to our community is huge, though. I mean, it's huge. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. The interesting thing for Larry, I mean, and we're talking about Larry, if you're listening to this on audio, the interesting thing, Larry, that I'll say is this: you're not even able to listen. You're so dug in on your own beliefs. I literally said I created this brand to have a conversation, purposely chose to stay away from the easy option of making money, guns and flags, right? Like that would have been easy, right? It would have been easy to go down that road. So the insults of ammo-sexuals is actually, it's kind of funny. I haven't heard that one before. It makes me laugh a little bit. But I literally began.
We should make that into a T-shirt, Jeff.
Yeah, yeah.
We are amosexuals.
Yeah. I mean, I literally created it so people could be brought into the conversation of liberty, freedom, limited government, the ability to have people enjoy their life, and that's that. And it's a shame when people are so dug in, but whatever, that's their right. And there we go.
The military should have done a better job of deprogramming me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm, the downfall is I'm kind of disappointed the military didn't do a better job of programming me, right? I mean, as if they would have done a better job, I would have stayed there. Actually, Obama was my exit, to be real. Obama was my encouragement that I needed to get the fuck out as quick as possible.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And I
but as they say, don't feed the trolls. I would just check out what we're doing over there, and my belief is if we can get back to the Constitution, if we can get back to a true belief that liberty, freedom, the pursuit of happiness should be the guide point for every decision. We need to get rid of the bureaucracies that people don't vote in, that change lives every day by fiat and pen stroke. I think that's terrible. And we need to get back to our representatives truly going to Congress to represent the people.
I would agree. And some things we don't look at when it comes to business and bureaucracy, right, is even at the city level, right? Like Idaho, fortunately, was a pretty open state if we go through the COVID experiment, pandemic, whatever you want to call it. But the city of Boise was not for me, right?
Right.
City of Boise had far harsher rules than the rest of the state of Idaho. So it was a unique time to realize, okay, who actually runs your city?
Mm-hmm.
And so hopefully we can solve those problems in an upcoming election. But it really, the rest of Idaho was open for business.
Right.
And they prospered. And Idaho's still prospering because all these Californians that are escaping government control all the time, or they're giving up. They're coming here, and that's just their way of life. I've not scrolled down. Oh, common Christian nationalist. Amen. So the end result is, Jeff, I'm a common Christian nationalist.
I saw that.
It is.
That's all right.
If you were going to tag me with something, I appreciate the fact that you tagged me with the fact that I'm a Christian and that I take pride in my country, right? Because the end result is you can't do what we do as freely as we do it in any other country in the world. Love it. I love the fact that I live in the dumbest state in the country. And I love that aspect because we are going to be the freest state in the country too. So
yeah, I think YouTube Larry, I think that's the icon I see. Had some feathers ruffled today, but that's all right. It's okay. You can go about your day. We'll go about our day. Simple as that.
The end result is I'm going to go have dads and donuts with my kids
There you go.
in our homeschool community because we don't even in the state of Idaho, we don't let our kids be indoctrinated with the LGBTQ message that, we are the great white Satan, unfortunately, because the world's a better place because of the U.S., all of it. Right. We have made the world a better place. So
yep.
I do apologize for allowing Larry to distract our show a little bit. What kind of comments do you get on your show, Jeff?
I don't, not these kinds of comments, but anyway, I mean, again, it's Larry's right, and that's that, and that's what I'll say.
I do enjoy, welcome to my show, Jeff. It was truly a pleasure, sir.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I could get you fired up for your day. And
yep, days in motion, love it.
Man,
happy to have been here on.
We are just American business owners trying to do our best to provide for our families and our community, and hopefully we can help some people along the way. So
yep, that's right.
Quick takeaway, Jeff, if you could give one piece of advice to business owners today, what would it be?
For me, the thing I'm focused on right now is, a constant state of improvement. Even if it means just 1% better today than yesterday, that's the goal. And that's what I'm looking to do.
Love you, man. Appreciate you. Thanks for joining me and also putting up with Larry's shit a little bit.
It was fun.
Nothing like being heckled a little bit. The joys, Larry. I hope you tune in next week.
Yeah, for sure, man. Happy to have given Larry some happiness today in whatever mom's basement he might be living in.
Well, have a good day, Jeff.
Yeah, man. Very good. You too.
To your guns, son, make me proud. Don't never back up, don't never back down. Stand your ground and always tell it like it is. Yeah, this life's gonna be real damn tough. You take them scars and you call that bluff. Don't let me catch you fitting in. 'cause everyone's an outlaw until it's time to do outlaw shit.
Welcome to Outlaw Entrepreneur Podcast, where doing business at the edge is the status quo and average is